In modern Africa, religion is not just belief. It is power, it is money, and sometimes it is politics. In packed stadiums and mega churches, millions gather every week, not only to worship God, but to encounter men they believe have direct access to God. Among the most famous and most controversial is Shepherd Bushiri. To his followers, he is a prophet chosen by God. To his critics, he is a symbol of unchecked religious power. This is not a story of faith versus doubt. This is not a story about miracles. It is a story about how belief is engineered, monetized, and defended at all costs. This documentary is based on publicly available reports, court records, and statements from relevant parties. All allegations mentioned are presented as claims and not as proven facts unless confirmed by a court of law. The content is for informational and educational purposes only and does not intend to defame or pass judgment on any individual or organization. Shepherd Bushiri was born in Malawi. Like many African religious leaders, his rise did not begin with wealth, cameras, or private jets. It began with charisma, language, and timing. In a continent marked by poverty, unemployment, and fragile institutions, prophetic Christianity offered something traditional churches often did not: personal miracles, financial breakthrough, and immediate answers. Bushiri presented himself not as a pastor, but as a prophet, a man who hears directly from God. This distinction matters. A pastor teaches scripture, a prophet claims revelation, and revelation places a man above questioning. Shepherd Bushiri grew up in Mzuzu, Malawi, in a modest household. He has often spoken about a profound spiritual encounter at the age of 10. An experience, he says, set him on the path toward a life of ministry and service to God. According to Bushiri, he was raised in a Muslim household before later converting to Christianity, a transition he describes as central to his calling. He received his early education in Malawi and is said to have pursued further studies through various institutions, including thereupon University. Prophet Shepherd Bushiri founded the Enlightened Christian Gathering, popularly known as ECG in Mzuzu, Malawi, around 2010. What began as a small ministry in the Chibanja township quickly grew, spreading beyond local borders and establishing branches in other countries. As the congregation expanded, the church moved its headquarters first to Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, and later to South Africa. Bushiri's ministry experienced rapid growth driven by a strong emphasis on prophetic grace, miracles, and prosperity. This message attracted a large and devoted following, eventually turning ECG into a global religious movement. Bushiri's ministry expanded rapidly through Southern Africa, particularly in South Africa, a country with deep inequality and widespread economic desperation. Shepherd Bushiri did not rise because of theology. He rose because he understood human desperation, such as unemployment, debt, illness, and hopelessness. According to immigration records, Bushiri first entered South Africa on the 6th of September 2008 on a visitor's visa. He later exited the country and returned again in 2009. By 2010, he had begun business activities in South Africa, gradually expanding his operations. In 2014, he officially relocated his church headquarters from Lilongwe, Malawi, to the Pretoria showground, marking a significant shift in the church's center of operations. Popularly known as Major One, Bushiri's public presence in South Africa gained national attention in August 2018, when he was invited as a guest of honor at the country's National Day of Interfaith Prayer. The event was held at the Emirates Airline Stadium in Johannesburg, where he delivered prayers of reconciliation and unity. The gathering was attended by leading members of the South African clergy, as well as the late Deputy President, David Mabuza. Bushiri's message to his followers is clear. If you are poor, you lack faith. If you are sick, you lack belief. If you give, God will respond. But the response always comes through the prophet. Offerings were not framed as donations. They were framed as seeds. Give, and you unlock favor. Refuse, and you block your miracle. Shepherd Bushiri's detailed prophecies and teachings on financial breakthrough quickly drew hundreds of thousands of followers. Within just a few years, Major One was consistently filling the FNB Stadium for his annual 31st December crossover night services from 2015 through to 2019. If you value African history told with depth and honesty, consider subscribing to this channel. In 2010, allegations surfaced that Bushiri had impregnated a teenage woman from his hometown of Mzuzu, Malawi, whom he had reportedly met several years earlier. It was claimed that he later attempted to persuade her to terminate the pregnancy by giving her a check for 80,000 Malawian kwacha, which allegedly bounced. The woman gave birth in 2011 to a baby girl who bears striking resemblance to Bushiri, according to members of her family. It was widely believed in the community that Bushiri was the biological father. They claimed the matter was kept quiet for years out of fear. Bushiri, however, denied the allegations. He stated that the check in question had been stolen from him and insisted that he was elsewhere at the time the pregnancy was said to have occurred. In 2018, the child's mother reportedly attempted to seek maintenance through the courts, but the effort was unsuccessful. Family members have since called for a paternity test, alleging that Bushiri privately acknowledged the claims despite his public denials. As Bushiri's influence expanded, something else became clear. The church was no longer centered on God. It was centered on the prophet. His language shifted to touch not the anointed. The prophet cannot be questioned. Critics are agents of Satan. In this environment, doubt is framed as rebellion. Questioning becomes spiritual attack. Former members would later describe intense pressure to give beyond their means, demonstrate loyalty publicly, defend Bushiri aggressively online. This is not unique to one church. Sociologists describe it as charismatic authority, where loyalty to a leader overrides systems, accountability, and reason. And where that authority goes unchecked, power consolidates quickly. In February 2020, Zimbabwe's former Deputy Finance Minister, Terence Mukupe, who is also a follower of Bushiri, publicly accused Bushiri of having an adulterous affair with his musician wife, who is popularly known as Rachel J., and alleged that the relationship had resulted in a pregnancy. Mukupe claimed he has WhatsApp messages between the two as evidence and further alleged that he had previously given Bushiri 100,000 rand to support his church. Bushiri denied the accusations, stating that he had not left South Africa for over a year and therefore could not have met Rachel J. He also said he had not used WhatsApp or iMessage for several years and announced that he had instructed his lawyers in Zimbabwe to pursue legal action against the former Deputy Finance Minister. Rachel later issued a statement through her family, disputing several of Mukupe's claims and denying that Bushiri was responsible for the pregnancy. Her family called for a paternity test to resolve the matter. In March 2020, she gave birth to a daughter, though no paternity test had been conducted at that time. Bushiri's prominence was powered by spectacle. Congregants claimed money appearing in wallets, petrol filling empty tanks, ATM cards producing unexplained cash, terminal illnesses healed instantly, and finally, the moment that defined Bushiri globally. He appeared to walk on air. The footage spread rapidly online, celebrated by believers, questioned by skeptics. To followers, it was proof of divine power. To critics, it raised serious questions about deception and manipulation. But in prophetic movements, evidence is not required. Belief is enough. Bushiri's prophecies were described by followers as remarkably detailed. Many claimed he could mention a person's house number, the street they lived on, and even the color of their home. Some said he could reveal the name of your pet, the type of car someone drove, where they worked, and even identify their perceived enemies. This style of highly specific prophecy drew widespread attention, attracting hundreds of thousands of followers to his ministry. Let me show you a couple of his precise prophecies.
I'm at the door of your house. Can I enter?
Go deeper, man of God.
It has one door, one window. I enter. Can I enter?
Yes, yes.
When I enter there is no wall that separates the sitting room and the bedroom.
Yes,
you are using a curtain, brown and white in color. Nature! Can I go to your bedroom?
Yes,
huh?
yes.
Are you using brown? I'm seeing on your bed. I'm seeing brown.
Brown blanket.
It's a brown.
Yes.
When I go to the kitchen, I'm going there. I'm seeing a table. There's a table, like a small table. And on top of the table, there's a two-plate stove.
Yes,
two-plate stove, white in color.
Yes.
Behind it, there's like a kettle, blue and white in color.
Yes,
and there is a fridge here. Huh? When I open the fridge, the deep freezer, there is meat, chicken, mixed pieces of chicken in the freezer.
Yes.
Four.
Yes, Papa. Yes, Papa.
Four.
It's true. Yes,
Four.
Papa. There were four.
You were wearing your wedding gown.
Yes,
huh?
Papa.
You entered a Mercedes Benz.
Yes, Papa.
White in color.
Oh, what?
Your man came on a Chrysler. Huh?
Yes, Papa.
You went to a place called Bella.
What, Papa? Yes, that's true.
That's where there was a reception.
What, Papa? Yes.
But you went to the garden called Claremont Garden.
Claremont
Garden.
Papa. Yes, Papa.
This man, he had four men.
Yes, Papa.
They were putting goldish suits.
Yes, Papa. Yes.
Among your four girls who were holding for you, there was a girl by the name Tandy.
As Bushiri's power grew, criticism became dangerous. Not legally dangerous, but spiritually. Followers were taught that critics are demons, journalists are enemies, former members are bitter and cursed. This is how control works. You don't silence people with force. You silence them with fear of divine punishment. Former followers would later describe guilt, pressure, and financial ruin, all justified as faith. The prophet remained untouched and the flock paid the price. While followers sacrificed rent money, Bushiri accumulated wealth, luxury cars, multiple private jets, elite access, and VIP escort. He preached humility while living extravagance. Supporters defended it as God's blessing. But the question remained unavoidable. Why does God's blessing always move upward, never back to the poor? In many services, followers were encouraged to give sacrificially even when struggling financially, with the promise of future breakthrough. The prophet prospered, but many followers did not. This contradiction sat quietly for years, until the law began to take interest. Eventually, the cracks began to show. Journalists dug deeper. Former insiders spoke out. Authorities began paying attention. But Bushiri had already prepared his followers ahead of what's to come. Every investigation against him was framed as persecution. Every question was framed as witchcraft. Every accusation was framed as an attack on God Himself. This is the final defense of absolute power. Turn accountability into blasphemy. Bushiri has reportedly made substantial investments across several African countries, with a significant focus on South Sudan. According to various claims, his combined investments in the country are said to exceed $700 million. These ventures are believed to span across multiple sectors, including oil, agriculture, and education, with reports that he funded the construction of a university as part of his business interests in Sudan. He has also invested in the hospitality industry, with a portfolio said to include several five-star hotels. Among them is the Sparkling Waters Hotel in Mahalisburg, South Africa. For years, Shepherd Bushiri stood as a symbol of modern prophetic power, untouchable, adored, and defended. But no man exists outside the law forever. Behind the miracles, behind the money, behind the worship, authorities were watching. By the time the law finally moved, Bushiri had already won something far more powerful than money. He had won belief that no evidence could break. But courts do not operate on faith, they operate on facts. And soon, the prophet who claimed divine immunity would face something he could not rebuke, pray away, or command: the justice system. If you value African history told with depth and honesty, consider subscribing to this channel. Major One started facing a series of serious legal challenges in South Africa, ranging from allegations of sexual assault to fraud and immigration violations. Bushiri and his wife were arrested in February 2019 by the Hawks on charges related to fraud, money laundering, and violations of foreign exchange regulations. The case involved more than $1 million and was tied to activities dating back to 2015. The couple were granted bail under strict conditions, including travel restrictions and no contact with witnesses. Separate to these claims, immigration authorities revealed that his residency status in South Africa may have been irregular. Investigators found discrepancies between the issue date of his South African identity documents and the timeline of his entry into the country. Police later alleged that fraudulent permits had been obtained, leading to the suspension of several Home Affairs officials. In October 2020, they were arrested again on additional charges, including immigration violations. Before their trial could proceed, however, reports emerged in November 2020 that the couple left their private jet behind and fled South Africa to Malawi by road, allegedly in breach of their bail conditions. They were briefly detained in Malawi, released, and later re-arrested as South Africa pushed for their extradition. In March 2021, South African police announced that Bushiri was facing multiple rape charges involving several alleged victims. Authorities claimed that some of the incidents were connected to women and girls associated with his church. Police also said they were investigating individuals linked to Bushiri who were accused of intimidating complainants after several alleged victims reportedly withdrew earlier statements. Bushiri denied all allegations. The extradition process has continued through the courts, with legal challenges and hearings extending into 2025, leaving the matter unresolved. Bushiri's company, Shepherd Bushiri Investments, has been the subject of controversy and legal scrutiny, with allegations linking it to fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and pyramid-style investment scheme. South African authorities seized properties and bank accounts connected to the company after investigations suggested that more than 120 million rand had been taken from pensioners through fraudulent activities. South African authorities have also moved to seize several assets linked to Bushiri and his businesses. The North Gauteng High Court granted the National Prosecuting Authority permission to sell Bushiri's luxury private jet valued at around 50 million rand, which was grounded at Lanseria Airport after the couple fled. Investigators believe the aircraft was purchased with proceeds from illegal activities. A luxury property in the Midstream estate was also forfeited to the state after the couple left the country. Prosecutors continue to pursue the forfeiture of additional assets connected to a money laundering and fraud case reportedly exceeding 100 million rand. In August 2024, the city of Johannesburg initiated proceedings to auction several of Bushiri's properties in an effort to recover more than 10 million rand in outstanding debts. Earlier in June 2025, PPS Property Fund, the real estate company that leased the Pretoria showground to his church, sought to execute a writ against his assets to recover 2.4 million rand in legal costs following a breach of lease by the Enlightened Christian gathering. Despite the controversies surrounding his ministry and business dealings, Bushiri has also been associated with a number of charitable initiatives across different parts of the world. Through his foundation and affiliated organizations, he has reportedly supported community projects in countries such as Malawi, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Botswana, and South Africa. These initiatives have included food distribution programs for vulnerable families, donations to orphanages, scholarship support for students from disadvantaged backgrounds, and assistance to hospitals and community health projects. In Malawi, his foundation has been linked to relief efforts during periods of hardship, while in South Africa and other countries, outreach programs have focused on providing basic necessities and educational support to underprivileged communities. Supporters often point to these charitable activities as evidence of his positive impact, while critics argue that they exist alongside a long list of unresolved allegations and legal battles. To this day, Major One continues to lead the Enlightened Christian gathering from Malawi. Followers from across Southern Africa, including South Africa, travel long distances, often by bus, to attend services and worship at the ministry's headquarters. The story of Shepherd Bushiri is one marked by extraordinary rise, immense wealth, devoted followers, and serious controversy. To some, he remains a prophet who transformed lives through faith and generosity. To others, he represents the darker side of modern charismatic movements, where power, money, and influence often collide. As legal battles continue and questions remain unanswered, the legacy of Major One is still being written. Whether remembered as a spiritual leader, a controversial figure, or something in between, his story reflects the complex relationship between faith, authority, and accountability in the modern world. And for now, the final chapter has yet to be told. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to see more.